Yeah, this has certainly been an interesting week. Certainly, we've had an intense full moon this week. I found this week to be quite energizing, and I was feeling really relaxed and calm and peaceful and happy and excited about the future, and that kind of dive bombed on Friday. Suddenly it was, all that happy, light, joyous feeling I had just suddenly disappeared, and it hasn't really made its way back to me yet. I'm feeling inklings of it today, so it's a little bit easier today. But certainly the last 2 days have not been easy, and I think a lot of people are feeling particularly overwhelmed by the energy, and it is certainly digging into places that are a little bit uncomfortable. And I was, as I prepare for today's webinar, and I kind of sit quietly and tap into the energies of what's currently happening, as well as what we're moving into. So for those that don't know, I like to look at things from a couple of different perspectives. So we look at kind of what is the core of what is happening for all of us as a collective right now, what is happening on an unconscious level, and then what is happening on a conscious level. I also like to look at what is the focus that we need to be working with, so that we can align ourselves with the incoming energies, and instead of resisting them, flow with them. So that movement forward, that flow is essential. The more we resist, the more uncomfortable things become. So for me, certainly in the last 2 days, I've been kind of looking, where is the resistance sitting in me, and what is that resistance? What do I need to be clearing or releasing or healing in myself that will allow the flow and that feeling of excitement and joy to come back, because that's far easier to manage than the uncomfortable feelings, although the uncomfortable feelings have purpose. So today, when I was tapping in and having a look at where things lie energetically for all of us, we still are caught up in this whole global pandemic. We are caught up in the consequences and the results of that pandemic. And for some people, it's been a wonderful time of self-reflection and review, and an opportunity to kind of slow life down and look at things from a different way. For other people, it's been unbelievably painful and difficult. And, so I think that certainly a lot of the people that I'm talking to are swinging between the two of those. And I find myself swinging between those two, looking at and thinking, oh, I'm really enjoying this lockdown. I'm enjoying the fact that I'm not rushing off to fetch children or take children to school, or having to get up so early in the morning to get the kids ready. And so and I think, oh, this is really peaceful. Things are quieter, everything's slowing down. And then I resort to swearing about the fact that I can't go for a walk when I want to go for a walk, and I'm being limited in my movements, and I'm being limited by what the governments are saying, and the frustration that I have around being told what to do as though I'm a child. So I seem to alternate and fling between the two. I try and stay in the one that says this is really nice and nice to slow down, but it's not always possible. And when I look at the energies of where we currently are now and what we're moving into this week, it definitely is this need for balance, to finding our balance in ourselves, but also in the energies that we sit in as a collective. Because the collective energy, whether we are aware of it or not, does impact us quite significantly. So if the collective is feeling a huge amount of fear, that fear will filter into our being. That fear, as much as we will say, I'm not afraid of what is happening, I'm not afraid of what is going on, the fear will filter into our consciousness and into our energy field. So we need to be kind of aware of what is the balance that we are maintaining within ourselves in this time of kind of confusion and chaos and turmoil and change and transformation and rebirth. So the focus needs to be on where in my life am I needing to redefine balance? Where in myself am I needing to redefine balance? How do I align myself with a new level of balance that enables me to manage the collective energies that are happening around me, as well as whatever is emerging within myself? So if we look at the energy of this last week that we've had with the full moon, the energies have really gone deep. They seem to be penetrating aspects of ourselves that we perhaps have ignored or have forgotten about or have been suppressed. And they really are triggering all of this energy, this emotion, this feeling, and this what's the word? Memory of things that need to be coming up, to be looked at, to be released, to be healed. And certainly that can be an interesting time depending on what is coming up. So obviously it's all unique to you as to what is surfacing, but the energy is moving into those deep aspects of ours. For me, I kind of, when I look into it and I look into my own field and into my own body, it's almost like the energies are moving into the very cells of our body to purge those cells, so that we are able to make space within ourselves on a deep level for a new level of balance, for a new life, for a new reality, for a new world. Whatever newness that is coming in, that is what we're needing to make space for. So this feeling of balance is key moving into the week, and it's important to remember that as you continue into Monday and the next few days. We also have a lot of astrological impact and shifts happening, with a whole lot of planets going retrograde this week. I did mention them last week. We've already got Pluto in retrograde. We've got Saturn coming up, I think, tomorrow. We've got Venus on the 13th, and I think Jupiter at some point is going retrograde. It might even be this week. It might be next week. I know it's this month. And, as a result of all of those retrograde movements of the planets, it means that the focus is really taking us deep. It is really taking us internally into areas and spaces within ourselves. And some of that is going to be amazing. Some of that is going to be really freeing and really exciting, because it's going to open up new aspects that we have forgotten about, new gifts, new talents, new creativity, things that, not all the things that we've suppressed over our lifetime are the negative things. Some of the things we've suppressed are the positive things, things like our creativity and our own natural talents and abilities and gifts. So those are also really going to be starting to come to the surface for us to begin to work with. If I look at things on an unconscious level, there really is this need to, as I said when we started, to work with the flow of incoming energies, to remove any resistance, any internal resistance we have to what is happening. And internal resistance manifests in different ways. You need to be able to monitor that within yourself, and start to allow that internal resistance to reveal itself, so that you can see what is sitting underneath it, what is sitting behind it, what are the fears or the anxieties or the worries that you are carrying, that are preventing you from being able to embrace the opportunities that are also being presented. I often talk about having a narrow perspective, and how that narrow perspective happens because of fears and anxieties and worries that we have. Whereas at the moment, we're really needing to step into a space of We're really needing to step into a space of expansion, so that our view and our perspective of the world and of our lives and of ourselves expands to incorporate the things that we haven't recognized, we haven't acknowledged, and perhaps we've suppressed over our lifetime. And it really is, how do we access all of that stuff? How do we access our own natural talents and our natural abilities and our creativity? How do we bring that forth into the world in a way that we can offer it as a service to humanity, as a service in our community, as a service to our country, to the global community? how do we draw that out of ourselves and offer that to the world? So those are the kind of themes that are happening on a subconscious level that we're needing to work with and access. And as well as looking at the shadow part of that is what is the resistance? Facing those shadow parts that the resistance reveals and incorporating them back into who we are. Often we look at the shadow, we look at the darker aspects of ourselves as something that is negative, when in fact that aspect of ourselves is just a wounded, damaged part that we've rejected or abandoned and just need to reintegrate into our lives and into our being. So those things are going to be coming up on a subconscious level, which ultimately will feel talking too fast, will ultimately come into our conscious awareness and enable us to work with that. If I look at what's happening on a conscious level, yeah, there's this feeling of just this perfect alignment within ourselves that is needed. And I think that perfect alignment comes with the balance that we need to manage and maintain within ourselves and in our lives. And that perfect alignment happens when we are fully connected to ourselves on a physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual level. So I often, in my work, those are the kind of four key aspects of the human that I work with. And then incorporating within that the soul aspect, which permeates through all four aspects. And when we have those four aspects in alignment and in balance, it means that whatever we are having to face, whether it's something within ourselves, whether it's something in our lives, whether it's something in our relationships, whether it's something that we need to face in the world, we can do so with clarity, we can do so with acceptance, we can do so with a level of awareness and consciousness that enables us to embrace what needs to be embraced, to heal what needs to heal, and to be able to access and accept the truth that comes out of our situation or our circumstances that we find ourselves in. So this perfect alignment is what we need to focus on. And actually, when I was preparing today, and I didn't realize it until now, but I was preparing today, I was kind of saying, give me a heads up about the meditation we're going to be doing. And it's an alignment meditation. So it fits perfectly with what I'm speaking about now. So this meditation that we do is really important. Because without that alignment, we actually just feel trapped. You're getting thrown from one aspect to the other. So we either get tossed into our emotional aspect and we become overly emotional, overly sensitive. We get overwhelmed by the feelings that are coming up. Or we go into our mental aspect, which means that we get caught up in the worries and the concerns and the fears that our mind is programmed to work with. So we need to have ourselves in balance between the mind and the emotions, the physical and the spiritual. And in that perfect balance, and that perfect alignment, we can have the perfect balance. And we can start to engage in our lives and in the world in a healthier way. We're also, with all of these planets that are going retrograde, we're also moving into a very deep karmic cycle. So there's going to be a lot of karmic stuff coming up to be resolved. So that's always a good thing. It frees us from certain patterns of behavior, relationships, circumstances, situations, repeating same old patterns. It frees us when we step into these karmic cycle clearings. It frees us from all of that. It also frees us from having to play out the ancestral stuff that we've perhaps inherited and that is no longer relevant to us moving forward. So whatever's coming up to be healed and to released isn't required for your life moving forward. And I think that can sometimes be one of the hardest things to accept, because some of the things that are being taken from us or removed often are not things that we want to give away willingly. But there is that higher aspect of us, our soul consciousness or our soul awareness, that knows and understands that these things are no longer relevant, that these relationships or these parts of our lives are no longer relevant moving forward, and they need to be released and to let go. And working with the incoming energies rather than resisting them, allowing ourselves to flow with them, means accepting and allowing the release to happen. So try not to fight the things that are coming up to be cleared and to be released. Recognize that things aren't taken away. There's the universe doesn't allow an empty void to be left in its place. Those voids need to be filled with something. So there will be something beautiful that emerges from the releases as we allow them to happen. And often that what emerges is a sense of peace, serenity, joy, love of self more than anything else. And those are the kind of things that are coming up to be replaced. Yep, and this week as well, we have, we have even more of an opportunity to allow for a deeper transformation to happen within us. And it's a transformation that will take us out of the feelings or the sense of heaviness. I quite like that because the last few days have been rough. So I'm quite looking forward to coming out of this feeling of heaviness and back into the feeling of lightness and a feeling of kind of life moving in a direction that is really positive, even though the circumstances don't necessarily dictate that. And there's something around this whole new reality, new world, new earth, whatever you want to call it. There's something around that really birthing within us. I spoke to a couple of my female clients this week and female friends, and all of us have been moaning about feeling like we're pretty heavy, feeling pretty physically heavy, not just emotionally heavy, feeling like we a bit bloated and retaining water. And I can see a couple of people nodding at me, so obviously you've been feeling the same. And I think that I made the joke of saying, well, if we're birthing a new reality, well, then there's going to be a physical reaction to that. So there is this feeling of and anyone who's been pregnant, it's that uncomfortable feeling of the last stages of pregnancy, where you just feel heavy and you just want that baby to come now. And it certainly feels like that for me. It feels like I feel like I'm weighted down, and I'm being weighted onto the earth or into the earth. And there definitely is a strong pull in my hips and my legs. I really feel like everything is being weighted to keep me here, so that I can't leave my body or leave the planet. So there is this feeling of heaviness, and that's going to start to lift and start to lighten as we continue to birth this new awareness and this new consciousness, this new reality. And how that manifests and how the picture presents itself in your life, again, is obviously unique to everyone. But it's also important to start to see where are the seeds starting to sprout in your life? Where are the new opportunities that are coming up? And you might have to look, for some people, some of these seeds that they planted, they did this years ago, but things are only and they gave up. They forgot about the seeds because, it's taken so long. So the awareness of these seeds are starting to grow now. There's little shoots coming out. Where are those shoots? Start to look and look for them and start to observe the opportunities that they present. And in that way, you're working again with the energy and what it's asking us to do. Just seeing if there's anything else that I've left out here. I think also just another aspect to the balance that we need to be focusing on this week as well is this balance between our masculine and feminine energies. So if we look at ourselves from a soul essence and a soul essence that has incarnated into a physical form. Yes, we may have incarnated as a male or a female, but actually we carry the essence of this masculine energy and this feminine energy within us. And when we balance those two energies within us, we're able to tap into the creativity that we're needing to work with currently, and we're able to then manifest what it is that we're needing to manifest. So the balance, again, of those two energies is vital. So we've got the balancing of the different aspects of ourselves from our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual selves, and the balance of the masculine and feminine as well. Yeah, I think I've pretty much covered it. So I'll open it up for questions. If you want to, there's a chat bar at the bottom there that you can type in a question if you've got any questions. Otherwise, you can unmute yourself and speak. Damn, no one got any questions. That's good. Muriel, how can I feel confident in offering my translation services first time? I think you just got to go for it. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Elizabeth Rose, lovely energy all week till Friday when old family trouble I keep resisting came up again. Yeah, me too. Yep.
I had the exact same experience.
Did you?
Yeah. It was all family and exactly till then, and then it all went to shit.
Yep. Yep. Me too. Fantastic. And then got sucked into all the drama. Okay, Megan, what would an example of resistance, what would it look like? What would it appear as? Resistance can come up in different ways. Can come up as anger, apathy, come up as exhaustion, wanting to sleep all the time. Those are the ones that are kind of coming to mind. Yeah, unforgiveness. Yeah, unforgiveness it can be resistance. Although for me, unforgiveness or forgiveness is quite an interesting conversation, I think, because certainly for me, forgiveness has kind of happened without me noticing. You do all the work, the healing and the processing and the analyzing, and you do all the work, and then months and maybe years down the line, suddenly you wake up one day and you've forgiven that person. It's over. But if you're not doing the work, that can be the resistance. And if there's stuff that is coming up and you're refusing to work with it, and you know, for me, resistance can often come up because we don't feel good enough. There's a sense of or a lack of confidence in ourselves, a lack of confidence in our abilities. I mean, I know for myself, I've gotten much better over the years of doing this work, but certainly in the beginning, you know, when my own inner guidance would say, you know, this is what you need to do, or this is what you need to embark on, I'd go, no, I can't do that, you know. can't do that, I don't know how to. There would be 1,000 excuses why I couldn't do it, but it was generally because I had a lack of confidence in myself and my own ability. So how do you go with the flow and not resist? Look at what the resistance is. What is hiding underneath it? Is it a lack of confidence in yourself? Is it fear? Is it programming? Is it buying into what you've been told instead of following your own intuition and your own inner guidance? I think you know, more than looking at what the resistance is, we need to look at what is hiding behind the resistance. For Pam, procrastination sometimes keeps coming up. Yeah, procrastination, definitely. I think I'm a master at that. Can definitely procrastinate going and doing the washing instead of sitting down and doing the work. And you've got to know, if that I'm doing washing and ironing, I'm definitely procrastinating something. So how do we balance the masculine and feminine energies, and how do we recognize which is which? And Karen, what about self-forgiveness? Yes, I think self-forgiveness is essential. You can't really forgive anyone else until you've forgiven yourself first. That's certainly my experience, in my opinion. And before we can even forgive ourselves, we need to actually find empathy and compassion for ourselves. To be compassionate for the person that we were when we did whatever it is that we are now judging ourselves for. To be able to look back at that person, who we were, and feel compassion. And I think that it's essential to remember that everything that we do in the moment, we are doing because we feel in that moment it is the only choice we have, or the best course of action to take in that moment. You know, hindsight is a beautiful thing, but we don't have hindsight in the moment. In the moment, we can only do what we can with the knowledge, with the information, with the growth and the understanding and the awakening that we have in that moment. So we need to be able to look back at ourselves and to be able to acknowledge that, you know, perhaps we weren't the best version of ourselves in that moment when we made that decision or that choice. And I think that addressing shame is also key in that, is addressing what it is that we are criticizing or judging ourselves for. Addressing the shame that lies within that as well is also essential. I hope that helps or gives you something to work with. So how do we balance the masculine and feminine energies, and how do we recognize which is which? So if you look at your physical body, I kind of like to mirror, I'll use the physical body as a mirror for our energy field and our energy body. And the left side of our body is our feminine, and the right side of our body is our masculine. So we can actually use our body to see where are we out of balance. We can lie down or try and sit straight and see where am I out of balance? Are my shoulders, one shoulder too high? Am I clenching my jaw and pulling my neck in? You know, what's going on here? Then going lower down, are my hips out of alignment? Which hip is higher, which hip is lower? Then we can move into our legs, into our knees, into our feet, and really start to assess from a physical level, what is my energy doing? So that's a really simple way of doing it. And then how do we balance them is we also need to look at, you know, for a lot of people, we've been, I think, conditioned and taught to work more with the masculine. Our world has been very masculine driven, very masculine orientated. And as a result of that, we've learned to operate from that energy. And the feminine has often been ignored or suppressed or just put to one side because we don't know how to work with it. The world hasn't shown us how. So we often have to kind of deprogram that part of ourselves so that we can start to work with the feminine and bring that feminine aspect into balance. And, you know, to be able to do that is to look at your life. Where in your life are you using your feminine energy? So if we look at the feminine energy would be our more nurturing, creative part. So where are you being creative? Where are you being nurturing? Things like dancing, gardening, just anything kind of creative will help you to stimulate your feminine energy. And then the masculine energy is more about, you know, physically manifesting stuff in your life. I mean, gardening can be a perfect example, actually, because, you know, working with the feminine is having an insight about, you know, the design of the garden. What do you want it to look like? What are you going to plant? That kind of vision that you have, and then utilizing the masculine to plant those plants and to actualize the vision. That's a kind of as simply as I can put it. Alyssa, I've been reading a lot about manifesting in this energy, that it's supportive, and now is the time to utilize the energy to assist us in creating our new lives. How do we do that when we are quarantined and prevented from truly creating what we want? It's been difficult only because I feel like I'm chomping at the bit to move forward, but cannot because of our situation. Any advice on how to start creating during this time while we can't really move forward? Yeah, I get that. The insight that I've been given around that is to plan, is to really, really set the foundation and the groundwork of what I'm going to be doing and what I'm going to be bringing forth into this new reality. So that's all we can really do while we're being quarantined, or we're in lockdown. At the same time, we are being given the opportunity to clear and to release any barriers within ourselves that are coming up that will be stumbling blocks in moving forward. So there are kind of two parts to the answer that I'm trying to give you. The one part is to work with the energy in the way that now this week, and it's already really started with the full moon, the energy is moving deep into the cells of our being to bring up what needs to be released, what needs to be healed from a karmic and particularly karmic and an ancestral aspect. Start to work with that. Start to work with the energy. And the other side of that is start to plan, you know, really, really create a solid foundation of planning and preparation for what it is that you want to manifest moving forward. Hope that helps. I think we must also remember, you know, if it was time to implement the new, or to implement whatever it is that you're feeling drawn to manifest into the world, then we would be doing it. The time isn't right if if the environment isn't right. We can have the insight and we can have the information and the ideas and of what it is that we want to create or what it is that we want to bring into the world. But if the environment isn't right, those things are not going to land. Again, I'm going to use the analogy of working with a garden. If the soil isn't ready and this environment that you're wanting to plant isn't ready and open and rich, whatever you plant is going to struggle to grow. It's not necessarily that it won't grow, it will just struggle. So we need to make sure that the environment is right for whatever it is that we're wanting to bring forth. Hope that helps.
I have a question when you have a chance.
Let's go.
So in terms of what happened this week, in terms of the family stuff, I mean, I'm wondering, you're talking about, on the one hand, ancestral and karmic stuff, clearing that, which was absolutely happening for me. And then also the resistance at the same time. And what happened with my family, I mean, just in a nutshell, it was like the family group WhatsApp situation, and it's like old stuff coming up of me feeling a certain way in terms of the family. I won't go into it, but you also know a bit about my history. And it almost related back to my very, very early thing that I thought I'd already cleared, you know, when I was 4 years old, whatever. And it was just interesting. I was like, oh, that's interesting that that's coming up, because I thought I'd actually completely cleared that. When something like that, and I do feel like I have to kind of move past it now. I'm in a different space about my family now, and I think that's really supposed to be. But, you know, that whole thing happening, is that more, it's almost like, is there residual stuff still sitting that I needed to clear in terms of that early thing? Or is it more me kind of drawing on old stuff as a form of resistance? Do you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
what one of those is it?
So if we look at the energy of this, of what's currently going on and how it is moving into the cells, it is the residual stuff that is coming to the surface to be cleared and to be released. That's one part of it. The other part of it as well is that you must remember we have lived within patterns of energy that have dictated how we will operate in the world, have dictated how we will operate in relationships. We have learned this is, and whether it's right or wrong, this is what love is, this is what family is, this is what relationships are about. We've learned that from our families, from our cultures, and from our societies. It's not necessarily the truth that, from a soul perspective, because our soul operates in a completely different realm of love. Our soul operates in a place of unconditional love, and operates in a place of unconditional acceptance, and recognizing that from a higher perspective, we each have our own journey, we each have our own perspective, we each have our own path. But when we come into human form and we are born into the families that we've all been born into, we are from that moment told, this is how you will operate, this is who you will be, this is how relationships work. And we learn that by watching the dynamics that happen in the family, and then the dynamics that happen in the external world. And we know as a child on a primal level that if we don't learn to operate in those worlds, in those ways, we are going to be rejected. And on a primal level, that rejection equals death. Yeah. So we embrace those patterns, we embrace those dynamics, we embrace those ways of being and living and relating, because if we don't, we're going to die. So that is kind of what we're working with at the moment. We really are releasing those deep primal fears around being ourselves in the world, being authentic, accessing and working from our place of truth, and being able to express in our lives the love that we know we carry, rather than the version of love we've been taught.
Makes total sense, yeah.
That's good. I was worried that it didn't.
Yeah. What?
I was a bit worried that it didn't, because I...
No, that it really does.
Okay.
Because that's exactly the feeling that I experienced. It was a feeling of this absolute fear. And actually, if I really think about it, it is of a kind of death. It is. It's like being ostracized by the family.
Yeah. And I mean, you look at, when we're talking about a primal level, if we look at nature, if we look at the animal kingdom, and we look at, an animal that belongs to a pack, if that animal doesn't participate in the ways that it needs to, it's moved out the pack. It's left to survive on its own, and often it doesn't. And it's the same kind of primal fear that is triggered in us. And often, and unfortunately, there are very few people, certainly that I know of, that have been brought into or born into a family that is completely accepting and embracing of you as a soul.
Exactly.
you know, how we're meant to be parented and how we're meant to be parenting is to be able to look at children and say, well, this is a soul that is emerging into the human, not this is a baby that needs to be taught how to be human. So those kind of wounds are quite deep-seated and often often difficult to face. And you know, my sense as well is that a lot of the resistance that comes up in us around these sort of things that need to be healed and need to be addressed is because, you know, we then have to have a really honest look at where we come from, who our families are. And that can be hard. You know, we often put on the rose-colored glasses so that we can accept and exist in the families that we're in. Because none of us want to be alone. None of us want to be ostracized from our families. We want to be loved. We want to be accepted. We want to be embraced. But we want to be acknowledged. We want to be seen.
It's like we've got to find it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
I'm finished. Someone else wants to talk.
Okay. Anyone else want anything else? Anyone else has to say? No other questions. Okay, well, maybe we can move on to the meditation then. As I said earlier, this is a meditation that we're going to do to realign ourselves and to bring in that balance so that we can let go of the resistance and move into flow. Yeah, as usual, I don't really know where we're going, but I trust that I will be guided as to where we're going and what we're going to be doing. So when you're ready, just settle into a comfortable space. And just gently closing your eyes. And just take a couple of deep breaths. And just allow yourself to settle into this moment. Settle into your body. And just focus on relaxing your body. Start with your face, relaxing your cheekbones and your jaw, relaxing your mouth. Relaxing your tongue. And then moving your awareness into your neck, your throat. Just allowing that area to relax. And allow the sense of relaxation to move down into your shoulders. Allow yourself to let go of any tension, any stress that you're carrying in your shoulders and your neck. Allowing that feeling of relaxation to move down your arms and into your hands and your fingers. Allowing it to move down your chest, down your back. Relaxing your stomach. Relaxing your lower back, your hips, your pelvic area. Allow the relaxation to move down your legs, into your ankles and into your feet and your toes. Just feeling yourself completely relaxed now. And move your awareness now to your heart center in the middle of your chest. And from that place, imagine or feel a beam of light that moves down your body and into the earth. Allow this beam of light to anchor you, ground you. And as it anchors itself in the earth, allow your physical body to stabilize. And now imagine a beam of light moving up your body. See it exiting out of the crown of your head and connecting to the source, the creative source. And as this beam of light anchors itself in that creative source, allow your spiritual body to stabilize, your spiritual self. And now imagine a beam of light moving from your heart center to the left of your body. And allow this beam of light to anchor itself in the energy field that surrounds you. And allow your emotional self to stabilize. And now imagine a beam of light moving from your heart center to the right of your body, allowing it to anchor into your energy field, the energy field that surrounds you like an egg. And allow your mental self, your mental body to stabilize. Now imagine and sense and feel the light expanding from your heart center to completely surround you. And allow this light to cleanse, to clear, and to wash away any old or stagnant energies that are no longer needed or required. Allow it to dissolve any old programming and patterning that is no longer required. And allow the light to activate and awaken in you a sense of joy, creativity, peace, balance, acceptance. And truth. And just allow yourself to feel the strength that you carry within you, the strength that you need to awaken, to heal, to grow. Allow yourself to feel the power of this alignment. And know that you have the strength to face what needs to be faced. To hold your wounds with love and compassion. To let go of the past and to embrace the future. And remember, you're here at this incredible time, at this incredible moment in humanity's evolutionary growth. You're here to be a part of the transformation. You're here to co-create a new world, a new reality, a new earth. And to add your essence to that reality. In whatever way most excites you. Allow the fears to come up, but let them go. Feel the resistance, but move through it. And now maintaining that sense of alignment and balance. And the connection to your heart center. Draw yourself back into this time, into this space. Take a couple of deep breaths. And when you're ready, move your fingers and your toes. And you can open your eyes. Sure. That felt like quite a deep one. I hope you're feeling all nicely aligned and balanced. Thank you, Muriel. Yeah, I think if you can try and practice that alignment technique of starting in the heart, beam of light to the earth, beam of light up, and then to the left and to the right, and then just allowing yourself to come into balance using the heart as the kind of center point. It really does help, and it doesn't need to take 15 minutes. You know, it can just simply be closing your eyes and just visualizing that alignment happening. Oh, good. Finishing off some old loops. Yay. Done and dusted for that one. Good. Yeah, I found that very, very powerful. Certainly was for me. All right. If anyone's got any other questions or anything before we end. Oh, that's lovely. Maybe it's time to sing. Good. Well, thank you all for joining me today. It's always a pleasure to be with you. So zen. Me too. Also feeling rather zen. I would suggest everyone have a big glass of water after this. It'll just help to integrate what it is that we've just done. And I can definitely feel I'm still a little bit out there. But hopefully I'll see you all next week. And I hope you have a good week. I hope the resistance isn't too strong and that the flow is stronger. Yeah, and just remember to try and go with it and work with it rather than anything else. Yeah, have a fantastic week, everyone. Chat to you soon.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.